Call the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets, October 14th to order. Roll call.
Gale's here.
Marshall here.
Guzikowski's here.
Zarnecki here.
Seifert here. Segala here.
Alrighty. Approval of minutes from 9/16 of 2025. Any changes or corrections? If not, motion.
Segala moves to approve the minutes of September 16th, 2025.
Zarnecki will second.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzikowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Segala, aye.
Okay. Number 4, informational. Is that anything? Okay, nothing to share. 5, consider a motion to approve the apply movement upgrade project in the amount of $28,769. Awesome.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is John Martin, representing the Oak Creek Fire Department. We are seeking final approval for an upgrade to our climate event system in the amount of $28,769. We are requesting, we had requested $30,000 in a CIP item for the project, which came under budget by $1,231. We are changing over climate event system at our fire stations 3 and 1 to a magnetic system. This system captures virtually 100% of diesel fumes, which are a known carcinogen. We are not changing over the climate event system at Fire Station 2 with the anticipation that a new station may be built in the near future.
Okay. Questions?
Works for me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
If not, motion.
Marshall moved to approve the ply movement upgrade project in the amount of $28,796. Oh, sorry. 28,760. Oh, it's different on the two. It's different on the report. On the report, it says 28,796, and on the agenda, it says
The quota's for 96.
the staff report number, $28,796.
Gale, second.
Roll call.
Gale, aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzikowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Segala, aye.
All right. Number 6, consider a motion to enter into an agreement with RD Woods Company for the repair and resealing of the treatment plant exterior.
So this project was originally budgeted for $50,000. Staff was able to do a bunch of the work, which is great, but there's still some leftover work that to do, and RD Woods was the cheapest cost.
Nice.
That could happen this year, Mike, or next year?
We're gonna try and start on it yet this year.
Oh, start on
Nice.
it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we'd like to get it done, the weather holds and the contractor schedule.
How many staff members were working on it?
Two.
2. Wow.
Not full-time, they're doing other tasks, but when they
Yeah.
can, they work on that. It's
Awesome.
helped out greatly.
That's good. We have so many talented people for our city. Okay. We need a motion on this. Yep. Motion, anyone? For number 6?
Zarnecki will move to enter into an agreement with RD Woods Company Incorporated for the repair and resealing of the treatment plant exterior.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Shouldn't there be a number there? I'm sorry.
The amount of $3,200.
$3,200.
As it seemed commented on the report, unfortunately, it was after they were already sent out. So I apologize
Okay.
for that.
Thank you for asking.
Segala will second.
Roll call.
Gale's aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Alrighty, consider a motion to approve the change order number 1 for Shannon Drive Water Looping Project, to Wanasek Corporation in the amount of $8,253.15.
So this is a really small project on Sharon, just creating a short loop. I think it's about 450 feet or so. And what we discovered during construction is having a hydrant on the end for flushing purposes is really going to help us out. Also helps the contractor in testing and putting this main into service. So we asked him to install it. We provided the hydrant. This is just the installation and the hydrant. So it brings the total cost of the project, which is omitted from this report, at $61,200, so well below the budget.
Okay. Any comments? Ken?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, you guys good? Then a motion.
Marshall move to approve the change order number 1 for the Sharon Drive Water Looping Project to Wanasek Corporation in the amount of $8,253.15.
Gail, second.
Roll call.
Gale's aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Alrighty. Number 8, consider a motion to approve utility vouchers in the amount of $1,155,2550.
So on this, I will make a couple of comments. The MMSD number is quite large compared to normal. This includes two of our 3 areas happen to be on this bill. So we're paying really what we'd see over 2 months, we're paying all in 1 month. That's why it looks a bit large there. And area 3 is one of our larger areas anyhow, so that's just normally higher. Where it says towards the bottom, vendor various, and the description is accounts receivable reimbursement. Not exactly descriptive, perhaps. What that is on our cell phone tower leases, we ask for a deposit from the cell phone company in order for us to start doing the review. We take all of our external review costs out of that deposit. Eventually, we would return that deposit, unused deposit money, back to these companies. That has accumulated over a few years. This is an attempt to kind of right that. So we're giving, if you looked in the detailed version, you'd see that there's a number of companies that are getting reimbursement for that. It just adds up to that.
Awesome. And any other questions? Motion, okay.
Marshall will move to approve the utility vouchers in the amount of $1,155,025.50.
Sigali seconds.
Okay, roll call.
Gale's aye.
Marshall, I.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
Number 9, consider a motion to approve the 2026 operating budget for the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
I'll give you a little bit of a spiel on the budget process, and then if we can talk about the water budget, maybe I'll say a few things on that, and then whatever questions you might have on that. We've got the detailed sheets as well as a summary sheet this time for you, and then we can do the same thing for the sewer, and then take a motion. A motion on both is fine. That works. There's not a legal requirement to have a budget, so it really doesn't matter quite as much. So the business model is that we're self-sufficient. We operate on 2 separate enterprise funds, one for water, one for sewer. They are kept separate, and they're different from the city budget, the general city budget. The revenue source is only from our customer rates, what we collect from our customers. That rate structure is a flat fee based on meter size, and then a volumetric fee based on your water usage. The rates are structured in fixed fee. Oversight, the rates and any major construction projects are all approved by the Public Service Commission. So we really don't have any control over that, aside from what we submit to them. But it is something that we do watch throughout the year. So our mission and flexibility, there are no tax constraints. It's not subject to the same tax levy pressures that the city is. We're not driven to the lowest, cheapest cost. We want to strategically invest create the highest drinking water in the nation. That is our goal. We have then the flexibility to invest in critical long-term infrastructure because of that. budget is a management tool. It is to guide us as we're spending money that we collect from our customers. We're trying to be good stewards of what we collect and invest that in the water wisely. And we do financial checks, so quarterly we'll look at a budget to actual, to see how we're doing throughout the year to make sure that that's tracking correctly. And lastly, for the budget, and this is what we normally do, a very conservative budget, our revenue increase, so we project no growth in the community, we project no rate increases, so that revenue stays flat from year to year. In this case, we added 10% to benefits, and that's largely due to healthcare increases that we're seeing. Wages we increased in the budget by 3.5%. That's the number being talked about for a COLA increase for the employees. General inflation for general expenses, we used 4% for that number this year. MMSD pass-through, what we call them. Pass-through is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not really a direct pass-through, but the MMSD number that we'd like to be a pass-through, we used a 5% increase for that, and that came from MMSD. And lastly, our taxes and depreciation, we used 3%. So those are their general assumptions. Expenses go up, revenues stay flat. Now let's see where we're going to be and what we're looking at. On the next several sheets, the summary sheet gives you a general picture of what's going on. The detailed sheet just dives into it a little bit further. You can see the revenues on the top, and we'll look at the actual from 2024, what we actually spent, the estimated, what we think we'll spend by the end of 2025 through the end of September is what's used to support that. The budget on 25 that was created and approved, and then of course a couple of variance columns, the budget for 26 that we're proposing, and then the variance between, which is really what we watch, is the estimated to 25 compared to 26. How do those look, where they differ, and then why do they differ, is what we'll be looking at. So if you can see the total operating revenue, it's like $10 different. I mean, there's no difference from year to year. That's great. That's very conservative for us. Obviously, we've had growth. We haven't had rate increases. We have had growth, so that helps the utility tremendously. But we want to budget in a more conservative fashion. Operating expenses, there isn't much that really jumps out at me, but a couple of things that we really watch carefully is that depreciation number, coupled with, towards the bottom, it's income before capital contributions. In this case, $3.5 million, or almost 3.6. Those two numbers together are what fund our capital improvement program. So look at those two numbers together. And capital improvement program is what we'll talk about next month, as well as debt service. So it has to cover both of those costs. The taxes number is largely the pilot that we pay to the city in the form of tax. Not exact, but it's largely that. And then the non-operating revenues, that $1.2 million in the budget, that's largely investment interest. That's something that we would want to wean ourselves off of going forward, because we don't know what that investment interest is going to be going forward. For a time, it was zero for years. Now we've got quite a healthy number, because that's what we're seeing, but that may not. You have to be a little careful. And the third from the bottom. The capital contributions with the capital contributions, so those are developer projects that put in water and donate that to us. That's just a guess. So we kind of look at past years, and we just put a number in there. It's just a placeholder for this document. It's not something we drive to. And then if it turns out to be zero one year, it really has no effect on the budget. If it turns out to be $1 million, it has no effect. It's donated to us. So it will factor into our assets that we own in the future, but not today. That helps. So if there's anything you'd like to go over, I'm more than happy to. Bottom line is, so water's got an income of $3.6 million. Again, we're using that for the capital program, but our revenues exceed our expenses.
Mike, how far out have you guys planned for cash flow off the cash balance? In terms of, because obviously you're big project looming out there that's gonna.
Yep.
But you got Safe Water, Safe Drinking Water Loan Fund, proceeds, I imagine. So, and interest rates potentially probably maybe heading in the opposite direction.
Yes, so our cash flow analysis goes out to 2050. It obviously gets a little fuzzy the further you get out. I haven't looked to see what we look for interest income on that. I'd have to look. It's definitely nothing this high, that much I know. But we have looked at it.
For a likely lower balance at some point?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And lower interest rates?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes, absolutely lower interest rates. And that's where we can say that we won't need a rate increase even with the debt service on that project till, after the project's completed 2030. And then as we look beyond that, there's a few lean years. I think 2032 is our existing debt would be paid off. So those first couple of years, it's going to be a little tight. But after that, with that debt service rolling off the books, it makes it easier for us to work on the debt service we have now. We do know that if we take out the full loan for the full project, that debt service is outside of what we planned. It's twice what we planned in our cash flow analysis. But we have the money we've saved for the project we'll use to cover that extra debt service. But the projected interest rate on that loan is 2.2%. And we're getting well more than that on our investment. So it's a smart financial choice.
I don't recall, are we?
Oh, we do just LGIP now, local government investment.
I have.
Need a motion.
Not healthier than I'm accustomed to. Yes, it does.
Put you on the spot.
Is that a job application right here?
That's the beauty of having a newer system, is that you don't have the aging infrastructure yet.
Got,
Very true.
Motion.
Marshall moved to approve the 2026 operating budget for the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Zarnecki will second.
Roll call.
Gales, aye.
Marshall, aye?
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Sigali, aye.
So if I can just touch on a few things on the sewer side, that usually doesn't run quite as well. It's actually doing pretty well right now. So similarly there, same revenue projections, same expense projections. We expect no growth and no rate increase. And we haven't had a rate increase on sewer sites since 2010. We do show the MMSD at about 4 million. You can kind of see they're almost identical numbers on the revenue versus the expenses. We're trying to match those as best we can. The rest of it, depreciation in this case is $597,000. The income before capital, that's that rate of return, if you will. It's about $500,000. Those two together fund our capital program, and we have no debt in sewer, so there's no debt service associated with that. That's really the big thing there. The bottom line, my bottom line really is without the capital contributions, so that $500,000, there's been a lot of years that we've been just a little bit negative. We've been $60,000. It's right on the line there. And we have been watching really carefully. Do we need a rate increase? It's been so long. You don't want to go and have a 10, 12% rate increase. You probably should have been doing them all along at that point. So we're really cognizant of that. In this case, the non-revenue or non-operating revenues, that interest is about $450,000. So of the 497, 450 of that is interest. So that interest changes or goes away, or the economy changes a bit, and we could be right back down to where we sort of expect to be. It's fine. We're doing good. We're not trending in a poor direction, but it is something that we do want to watch.
Much of the interest, Mike, I don't remember, is the intergovernment loan.
It's almost all of it. I don't think we have much in checking at all. We have under $2 million in checking, so the rest of it would be water and sewer combined.
So I'm talking the
rate?
loan to the water side.
Oh, great one. I don't remember anymore. Let's see. You know, if you can hold that, I can talk easily about that next month because we'll have it in our cash flow statement. I want to say a
It
couple.
gets paid off in,
Yeah, you know, and we were just talking about that in the office, and I don't remember when that one's done. But it's a couple. I want to say $250,000 is the principal payment from water back to sewer. Yeah, thank you for that. It's in here. I just don't know that I can put my finger on it quickly.
Looks like it was estimated at 45,000 for 2025.
Interest on it,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Other questions? Ken, Lisa, nothing? We don't need a motion on this one. Number 11, consider a motion to recommend road.
Wait, what about 10?
who's asking?
Oh, sorry about that. I thought we just did finish that one up. Number 10, any questions or comments?
Oh, 10, sorry, I'm not paying attention. I actually do have a couple things this time. So, on the administrative report, it shows the industrial component from, compared to last year, is down 27%. Know that there's a bunch of going on at the power plant. We're gonna dig into that a little bit more. Between 23 and 24, they went up, presumably a leak. Between 24 and 25, they went up again, and now they're going down quite a bit. Now, we expect them to go down, but the fact that they were going up those 2 years in a row has us a little bit puzzled. So we're gonna dig into that just a little bit more, but did expect that to go down. The laundry company's also gone down. We've seen that over the last several months. Not exactly sure why. I think that's just their business operation. We have not had conversations with them on saving water or trying to get a credit for evaporating water or something like that. We haven't had those conversations. So I don't know if they're doing less business or they're being more efficient with what they have. The underground facilities rehabilitation project, we did get a incompleteness letter. It's incompleteness letter number 2. There's some really interesting questions in there, like, you please verify that you're gonna put the building footprint and the construction of the walls and the roof to the insulation standards of the building code. Come on now, really? That deserves incompleteness in application? Yes, we're gonna apply to all the codes. It's just ridiculous. There was a whole bunch of archaeological questions that we've already gotten the determination that there's no archaeological impact of this project. But now we have to answer all these questions. Well, what would you do if you found this? What would you do if you, it's a delay tactic in my opinion. One of the things they did ask for is the water demand information that we got from our customers, Caledonia and Franklin, were just numbers. There was no methodology behind it. And the numbers are reasonable. Franklin's maybe a little bit high, but they're reasonable. PSC asked for that methodology, is how they came up with it. What are those calculations? I think that's a fair question. So put that out to our customers, and both of them said they'll get back to us shortly. We should have our response back shortly to the PSC. That'll give them another 30 days to review. I would expect they'll open their investigation after that. And then the first step is data requests. So we'll ask more questions. It's not a short process, but that's fine. Intake cleaning and repair, we've talked about this a little bit. The contractor has moved in over the last couple of days. Due to the conditions in the lake, he probably won't start any kind of cleaning work until next week, but he's going to do some assembly this week and maybe look at our potassium permanganate line that we have. But he's in. We'll take some pictures down there. It's a pretty big operation. He's going to have 6 or 7 large trailer-mounted pumps on the lake shore. All these pipes coming into the shore well and flowing that water back out.
Can you see it from the top where the beacon is? No?
Can see the leak in our line when we're back flushing through it, because we did that last week. You can see it. That's only about 200 feet out, but at 3,000 feet out,
No, the operation on the shore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Sorry, I should have clarified.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going on now. He'll be here until it's clean, so it could be, and it's 24/7. They're running those pumps constantly once they start. Over the weekend, doesn't matter. He's not sure if it's 3 days or a week. It's just whatever it takes to get that cleaned out. And he's going to stay. Let's see. The remote radio replacement that we're doing for our remote stations, really want to shout out to Dan Nemi. He's done an absolutely fantastic job with that project. He's just taken it and ran with it. He's worked with the vendor to get the radios in. He's done the actual installation, optimization of the radio stuff, and the new radios are working fantastic. Really, really, I mean, it's not like we have project meetings and say, hey, what's the status on the Dan's just, he's just on it. He's doing amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. And then lastly, MMSD, the 10th Avenue laterals, that MMSD put in a line down there on 10th Avenue on the east side of town in 1996. Since then, the laterals to the private homes have sagged as a result of that construction, and MMSD acknowledged that, and they're finally getting around to fixing it. A contractor out there, yes. So here's the question. We had, and it's voluntary for the homeowners. Hey, knock on the door. We've got this video of your lateral has got a dip in it, and it's collecting water, and could be a problem in the future, and these people over here are willing to pay to fix it. You've been there 30 years. Or maybe you bought the house 20 years ago and didn't even know about any of this. Never had a problem. There's no sewer backups. I don't know that I want you digging it out, Anyhow, there's 5 that they're doing out there, and they'll start that within the next week or 2, I would expect. Yep. We did have, I showed you the water lateral. We did have that. That was on our side, 6 feet from the house. We talked about that. That was it on the administrative report. Well, there was one more. So the DNR completed their sanitary survey down at the treatment plant, and I love the way Mike Roby wrote this. There's no new deficiencies were found. It sort of sounds like there's no deficiencies found. No, there's no new deficiencies. The existing ones for the CP tank still maintained. We'll still see that in the report, but everything else went really well. Oh, no, there's more. I'm so sorry. My papers all together. Okay, so we are, and I think I might have mentioned this before, we're working on a research project with the Water Research Foundation. They're looking at maintaining chlorine residuals and guidelines, creating guidelines for that, and they've asked us to participate in that research study. I think I talked about this before. That will be coming up shortly. And then lastly, we did receive the Utility Achievement Award. I know that's been on Facebook and things like that. And it's just nice for the local section, the state section, to honor something that we're doing on the national scale, right? So it's honoring us for maintaining our 10-year for the Presidents for Safe Water, or the President's Award and the Partner for Safe Water at the treatment plant. So it's really nice to be recognized for that. Now I'm done, I promise.
Sure.
Number 11, consider a motion to recommend road improvement projects to be advertised for public bid for construction in 2026 to the Common Council for approval.
Thank you, Alderman Guzikowski. Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator and City Engineer. I'm going to kind of just give you a background on the process, or background on the project itself, and then I'm going to hand it over to Andrew Ledger, our design engineer, who's kind of taken the program itself and moved it forward. But yeah, last year in 2024, we had discussions on expanding our surface road transportation enhancement. We moved forward with blessing and support of our council in increasing our funding from 1 million to 4 million through bonding. This includes sidewalk improvements also. So our budget is 4 million. We take 250,000 of that and we put that towards our sidewalk improvements. So typically we have 3.75 million. Our goal is to look towards about 3.5 million to give us a little bit of contingency depending on bidding as it comes through. This year we've been able to roll over approximately $500,000. So we're looking at a project close to, we were shooting for about 4 million for our road projects. So that's why your base bid on the sheet shows 3.9 million. This gives us a little bit of flexibility Within those estimates, Andrew will probably speak to this more, but we do have a little bit of contingency. We also have some administration and engineering costs now associated with this. And this is primarily for the fact that our work has now quadrupled. We're not sure of staffing coverage on these projects, whether we'll need to bring in consultants, and consultants obviously cost a significant amount more than our own engineers and staff. So we just wanted to make sure we were covered there. In anticipation of being able to do it in-house and all the work, that's why we included several alternatives that we would recommend that, you know, those be also put in through this motion to put on our bids. This would allow us then to pick and choose, obviously, if our base bid comes very low or with the ability for us to go through. Now you can, I guess, prioritize your alternatives on what you want to see more along this, but I guess that can be a further discussion. But I'm going to let Andrew kind of go through all the choices, the thought process between this and the movement through the program. Unless you have any questions up to now, be happy to answer those.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Matt. Can you explain the passer system, how you rate the roads?
Yeah, the Pazer system. So actually, we do bring in a consultant for that.
Okay.
But what they do is they basically drive the road. Usually 1 to 2 engineers will drive it, whether it's staff or new. But they drive and they look for deficiencies, visual deficiencies. So rutting, cracking, any kind of spalling or anything that's within that surface. They actually have a book that they carry with them that actually has pictures for every rating. 0 being the worst and 10 being obviously the best rated condition. They go through each segment, they look at it visually, and then they rate it. Andrew actually goes through that. He does review what ratings we have as we get those, just to make sure that there's not a big change. So we look at the past years and we look at the new ratings. If we see major changes, then he'll actually go out himself and do another review of that segment just to make sure that, you know, someone else is seeing it or we're seeing the same thing. Likewise, when we're going through this, when he's picking this, if he's kind of questioning some of it, he'll actually go out and drive the road himself again, review it again, just to make sure that our ratings are feeling comfortable about that. But that's how we do it. Standard practice throughout the nation. Very cut and dry, honestly, with pictures.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
You guys maintain like a summary of, you know, we've got X number of feet of roadway in the city, and, you know, how many total feet are in each category?
We do have, I mean, we categorize that so we see each one. We can pull all that information out. Everything is through GIS, so it's very easy to
I think
gather
it'd
that
be
data.
interesting for us to see just kind of an overall of all the road feet in the city, and then, you know, there's 1% that is rated 1 versus, you know.
We actually, within our budget documents, and we're trying to pull that up right now, actually within our budget, through engineering, we actually do have a chart that we started putting actually within our budget that's explains, I believe, what our percentage is, like between 1 and 2, 3 and 4, or whatever,
Yeah.
and then what our goal is to get to. Yes, so right now our condition frequency report, so we'll start on the low end, our 1 to 2, which is our worst condition, 0.6%, so it's very low. 3 to 4, we're at 11% approximately. 5 to 6, we're at 48%. And this is, I'm rounding up.
Yeah.
7 to 8, we're at 33. And then 9 to 10, we're at about 7. So our goal is really to obviously have 0 at 1 to 2,
Right.
5% for 3 to 4, 41 for 5 to 6, 48 for 7 to 8, and then 6% from 9 to 10. So that's how we're kind of approaching it. Obviously, we're still in the maintenance mode, I would say more. With the 4 million, it actually has opened the door for us to start looking at doing some reconstruction, which we were pushing off before. But we're still primarily focused on taking care of our 4s and 5s and trying to push those towards our upper end.
Sure.
Our system is old. We have several roads that were done in the 80s, which are concrete, which haven't been actually maintained or touched. So really the life expectancy of concrete, we're looking at 60 to 70 years. We're already touching 50, close to 50 on several of those that have had no maintenance done. Really your maintenance should be done at year 25 or so. So we're behind a little bit, so we're trying to catch up. And once we catch up, then I think, then we'll be able to, execute the program in a much better.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting, we see the ratings on your spreadsheet here, and figured, yeah. I see mostly 4, 5s, and 6s, so I'm thinking we must be doing pretty good. I just thought it was interesting to know what overall we were looking at.
So I'm going to hand it over to Andrew, and he kind of talk from each section and kind of get down to more of the nuts and bolts on some of the decision-making process here.
Morning, board members. Andrew Ledger, design engineer. So as city engineer Sullivan spoke about, we do use the Pazer system to kind of prioritize our roads. Then we do also look at things such as functional classification, traffic volumes, and then also feedback that we've received from the different departments and council members. For 2026, Matt had identified, we're looking at proposing a base bid structure with 5 alternates included in there so that we can backfill with those alternates if there is additional funding available, because we have had let savings in previous years. So we can try and get that, utilize that. Just kind of a high level overview for 2026 within the base bid, we're proposing about 10,678 feet of local roads to be rehabbed, 2,640 feet of roads classified as collectors, and then 2,670 feet of minor arterials. That's going to be a total center line length of 15,988 feet. However, within the base bid, we are proposing to rehab East Puget Road from Howell to Shepherd. That's a 4-lane section, so that'll be significantly more lane miles than the rest of the streets out there. I guess kind of diving into the base bid, we're looking at reconstructing and rehabbing the Flynn subdivision neighborhood. We do have one section of road up there that is rated a 2. It's pretty severely deteriorated, so looking to bring that whole subdivision back up to a 9 or a 10 out there. Looking at reconstructing 3 of the segments within there, and then mill and overlay on one segment that's rated at a 4. Our next group of streets would be Lakeview Drive and Mona Court. Those are some of those older concrete streets. The water department does have a water relay scheduled in that area, so that's why we're looking at a reconstruct out there. That would be a joint project with a cost share with water for those 2 streets.
Andrew, that's our expected share of the cost, or is that the total cost?
That is the full cost that's budgeted in there. That cost share portion, we'll have to work that out with water still. So that's the maximum that we would expect those 2 sections to cost.
And maybe what are some of your options, alternatives that come out of that?
So we would be looking at approximately 750 there. So potentially depending on where we're at, maybe we can bring in like alternate 1 or alternate 2, depending on what we find with that. we are planning to have all of those alternates designed for bid, obviously. So whatever we wouldn't bring into the project this year, we would expect that that would probably be included in next year's project.
I like the idea of the alternate. It gives you
Yeah, we've
the last couple years.
been handy to have those ready to go.
Yeah,
Matt
'cause-
and Andrew, sorry, I know that those are concrete sections up there. I know in the past we've used it on concrete sections. Cross how we've used, I forgot what the term is. Basically break it up and push it down and then pave over the top of that. Has that been proven unsuccessful, or is this with the disruption the water utilities have caused? Take it all out and start over?
Yeah, so if we were just rehabbing those sections, we would be looking at more of a mill and overlay similar to what we've done in the Manor Marquette neighborhood, and up on Crane Drive last year. But with the excavation for the water main and the laterals, we're expecting that a lot of that road will either be lost or and then whatever's left intact won't really be salvageable. So that's why we'd be looking at a reconstruct instead of that mill and overlay in those areas.
And do I know we haven't thought about this for a while. We have a good cost share on when the water utilities in our road, making sure that they're covering enough of the expense that we have. In the past, I think it seemed pretty skinny to me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, so I mean, we're still working through some of those details. You know, I think this is just a kind of one of those hurdles that we're trying to get over with the new program and trying to be more conscious about how the water and sewer utility, their needs to get, I mean, they have some aging infrastructure throughout the city, so we're working with Brian Johnston out of their office to make sure that their needs are being met along with ours. You know, obviously it's delicate as far as being able to identify those on how we would handle it. So we're still working through that process, and that I think that's why we went ahead and showed what it would cost us, the 700 or 750 or whatever it is, just to make sure that what we were covering in here, we had that budgeted. Now, yeah, I think in our last few instances we've been working on the fly. We've been trying to get the projects done. I think this actually will give us more of an opportunity to work with them to make sure that the cost share makes sense and is reasonable for both parties.
Kurt, you probably have experience with that. I imagine you wrestle with cost shares.
Sounds like you guys are a little bit more generous to the utility here in Creek than we usually fund at least half of a road project.
Yeah,
That could be some of the options too. I mean, we want to explore everything to make sure it makes sense on how they do it, and we understand that some of our roadways too that we have, especially the ones that they're doing are concrete. We've seen it before where and it wasn't really their issue, it was more of the how the contractor approached their work, their means and methods, but based on subgrade and factors that are really out of everyone's control. How it was constructed in the past in the 80s where they put concrete on clay with no subgrade improvements really kind of puts us behind the eight ball, I guess, so to speak, for both groups. Because whether we're doing the road or not, I'm going to guess that the contractor, just because they're running the heavy equipment across there, is probably going to damage the road to a point where they're going to have to replace it anyways. But it would be on the contractor. But since we already had plans to do the road, or we have wishes to do it, it just seems to make more sense than to make sure that we do it correctly and just get it done right. So I think we ran onto this on Wildwood, right? So there was a cost share there, and I think that's where we have to find that balance. There'll be a little further discussion.
So I guess then moving down the list, we have Stewart Court and Stewart Drive. That'll actually finish out that subdivision west of Verdev, between Verdev and Howell there. So we can get that all wrapped up. That next section, we have Shepherd Avenue from Fitzsimmons to Highway 100. That just became a continuation of the work we completed south of Fitzsimmons. That also kind of fits well into next year's schedule, because the DOT has work scheduled along Howell Avenue and Highway 100 next year over to Shepherd Avenue. So that intersection at Shepherd and Highway 100 will already be under construction, so it's a good time for us to get in there and take advantage of the fact that there will be impacts there. That's also, we do also have LRIP funding, that's Local Road Improvement Program, that's funded through the state. We had applied for that back in 2024, so we'll then get that grant closed out as well. Then the final streets here, we have Shepherd Avenue from Buttes to Groveland. We're proposing a mill and overlay in that section. The water department did go through and do some trenching. Prior to that work, the ride through there had already been fairly rough. It's still a rough ride through there, so we'll get that milled and overlaid. Looking at Buttes Road from Howell to Shepherd along the high school there. Proposing a mill and overlay, and then also looking at how the current median openings fit with their plans for their reconstructed parking lot once the natatorium project is complete. And then Centennial Drive from just west of Howell over to Shepherd. Again, another street that's seeing some deterioration, so we want to get in there and get that rehab before that gets any worse.
Okay, I have a couple things.
Okay.
So for Shepherd, Buttes, and Centennial, you understand that's the parade route for
Yes.
the 4th of July, okay?
Yeah, we will have to make sure that we are very stringent on how that needs to be staged.
Thank you.
So yes, we are aware of that, and we'll need to make sure that we have that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, Alderperson Marshall. So Andrew and I did a lot of discussion on this, and obviously, when we have events like the 4th of July, our parade routes really speak to what our city is like. So when you have other people coming in and our roads are deteriorated and failing and they look poor, that was one of our reasonings for this was, it's already at a point where we should be doing some maintenance to it, so let's just get it done. But let's make sure that we get the majority of the route that's in need of repair taken care of. So that's why those sections are on here. I'm anticipating with mills and overlays, they go pretty quick. We've had a lot of good feedback from our contractors currently when we do put on constraints on their time. Like, you have 2 weeks to get this done. You must have it done before this date. They actually appreciate that because the managers or the superintendents can then go back to their bosses and use it to schedule their work better. So we're probably going to be looking to try to tighten this up and have it done before the 4th.
Before, okay.
That's what we would prefer.
That was my next question, so.
I think that's what we would prefer to see happen. If we're gonna do this, let's do it, make sure it looks nice, but have a very stringent, you start here and you end here. Now, it's gonna be real tight because school. I think school gets out this first week of June. So they got 3 weeks to do it, which is probably acceptable. They probably can get that done if it's a mill and overlay. And there might be some, you'd be surprised how quick they get it
No,
done.
I don't have a problem with the mill and overlay. I
Yeah.
know that. But you're also talking base patching and.
A lot of our,
And your,
well, the medium modifications, so we can kind of split the job out, so if the
Yeah.
roadway has to be done by a certain point, and then the medium modifications, we'll look at the schedule more.
and Howell Avenue's being done next summer.
Yep.
No one's gonna.
Well, everyone's
you're
gonna,
not really get there,
yeah,
let alone
everyone's
have a
gonna-
parade.
everyone's gonna complain, but if we're gonna do stuff, we might as well do it in the same area where there's already impacts versus not.
Just know, like, this past year, when Buttes was shut down for the roundabout, Drexel was down in one lane and Ross was in 4 hours. Sometimes it's just difficult. I mean, try going eastbound on Drexel during that time, at the end of the day. The off-ramp from southbound would block both sides of the traffic, so no one could move. They would've moved until later, eastbound. By then, the red was already for eastbound at the exit ramp. So they just filled it in again, and if you were sitting west of the interstate on Drexel, you sat there. Because there was no other route.
I guess when you talk north and south for Howell though, they'll be pushing them either to the interstate or 13th.
I'm just thinking about Hole going on. It almost takes out that entire area for that length of time because you can't use one or the other. At least having an option to get from Hole to Shepherd if Pute's being worked on to have Centennial, but if that's down to one lane and Centennial's being worked on, it just creates a mess when there's so many road projects going on in the same area around the same time.
And I guess, we can look at that and we can push it if need be and take our alternatives and push them forward. So there is always options for us to do, and I think that's why we want to give you the alternatives for discussions of this type. There's always going to be an impact anywhere.
There'll always be an
Yeah.
impact, but again, you're looking at a tight window between school letting out and the 4th of July.
No,
Yeah,
for
so-
Pute's, Shepherd, and Centennial.
Right, well, exactly. I mean, I think Pute's is the one that you really have to play the school schedule on.
Same with
Yeah.
Shepherd.
Yeah,
Those are
same with
further-
Shepherd.
Correct.
I mean, the school buses.
Centennial
Yeah, if
not
that's
so
all they're
much.
doing is milling overlays, I mean, those are literally a couple days.
Yeah, because we're
Grading and paving.
I mean, and our base patching generally is a mill that sinks. You don't have backhoes or I mean, that's what we've done in the past, and that's how the contractors have handled it. So we'll take, let's just take example, Fairfield, which is 9,000 linear feet. We had that milled in 2 days. And then they had base patching done in 2 days. That was completely different. That was ours. That was completely different. So that had dowel bar retrofits, that had base patching, that had significant, that also carries, I think,
You're saying-
22,000 vehicles versus 7,000.
Okay, so you're saying the base patching for Pute's
It's
and
asphalt.
Centennial won't have the dowels and all that?
No, this is asphalt. So this would be sinking of a mill, basically, and getting it out that way. That's why the procedures, I think, are two totally different things in that sense. But we definitely can look at it. Do we hold it off past the 4th? And things like that. So I mean, that's I think where we want these discussions on the floor. I think these are good discussions and healthy.
It's important to use to explain the differences because you look back at something like this week they're doing all the saw cuts. 2 weeks later they're pulling the concrete out. That just drags.
Right, so-
this is totally different than that. I think we need to know that.
Yeah, and I guess it's also different in the sense that that was a state STP project. We, as the city, didn't have the constraints or the ability to put on, hey, you have 3 weeks. You have this date. I mean, there are some dates they put in, I think the Drexel, but it was a little more,
Yeah.
you know how the state can be.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a little more lenient. We tend to be very strict on ours.
Get it done.
Yeah, well,
That's the end of
we are very, like, the minute you put something down, you typically, like, Shepherd would be 1 week. You have 1 week to get it done. Centennial probably is 1 week. Pute's will probably be 2 weeks. But if they do it all at once, or if we
That's
push
the
it,
one thing I
and we could
wonder about-
package those.
especially if they're subbing it out to make sure they're controlling their subs, that they're not doing all of them at the same time. Finishing one, then I'm not sure how they like to do that. Or if they have multiple subs that they're using at the same time or what.
And the great thing about a mill is you can mill it, and you can have people on it that same day. So there'll be impacts throughout the process, but I think it's not a lasting impact, continual, I guess, where we can open it up and we can move some of that work around. I would prefer that they start on all of them, and when they're milling, they just mill it all. And they're out there for 2 days of milling, and then it's base patching, and then it's asphalt, and then it's this. It's like the train that just keeps
I mean,
going.
from our standpoint, we love that, but people think that looks like hell and drives like hell.
Yeah, it does. And then 2 weeks later, we're out.
I know, but people
Yeah.
don't remember the fact that
Yeah.
they bitch about how rough and beat up it was.
Yep.
Well, they were just inconvenienced.
Could I ask about, I asked about it at the budget workshop, about the subdivision on 27th Street, the south,
South Hills?
yeah,
Yeah, so we're still reviewing those along with the drainage.
okay,
Whether that's a package project or not, but we'll be looking towards 27, probably 28 in that area. So it is on our list. We
okay,
have several subdivisions that we want to do, and I think, you know, Andrew mentioned it, and I like how he had it laid out as far as, you know, local roads,
yeah,
arterials, and that. So one of I think the primary objectives when we did the $4 million surface enhancement program was to actually start putting more dollars into some of our local subdivision roads. So our point when Andrew's looking through this is trying to find a subdivision. Well, how can I fit the subdivision in, get, you know, 90% of the roads done and get out? And that way we're not impacting that subdivision more than 1 year and we're done. They have new roads for 10, 15 years.
yeah.
So I think that's one of the goals that we can check off is how we're approaching this. So I think that might also answer some of it. And, you know, bear with us a little bit. This is our first time that we've had to put in $4 million worth of work. And
Problem to have.
it's a great problem to have, but I think, you know, Bob, you're very right. I think our approach for next year explaining this, and we'll take this to the council this way, is to build on it and explain these a little bit more.
I think
So
just,
you have an
just
understanding.
explain the difference between what you're proposing to do on these roads versus, like I said, the real world example. I think everyone can relate to what happened with Drexel a couple of years ago. That was a long project. Similar, what you're saying, milling, base repairs, but totally different systems.
Right. Yep.
So,
Okay.
the base bids, any of these include ditching program?
No, so this next year, we're moving to try to do a separate project. We felt like we had a higher bid because of obviously the markup from the prime and different things like that. We're trying to do an entire subdivision bid alone, just with those certain types of contractors to see what types of bids we get. And then we'll move forward, because then we'll have two comparable kind of pricing. But yeah, we already have the subdivision. We're already out doing our work and as far as moving forward on the drainage.
No problem. All right, so then I get,
Just for Fred's sake too, maybe just give him an idea of what we allocated for pitching and the sidewalks. Is this like 750 numbers, right? Budget number for,
So we have 250,000 budgeted for sidewalks.
no, and the ditching,
Ditching, we have 500,000.
yeah, that's right.
That is put aside for that. This year, our project probably went close to 470, 500. We were right around in Fairfield, but there was several other anomalies, I guess, if you want, in that project. You know, culvert replacement, driveway replacement, making sure that we had the proper pitches on our ditches. Which,
See, those are annual numbers.
yeah, the 500,000. Yeah, that's what we're pushing to get towards every year, or more, depending on how it goes.
all right, so I guess I'll just jump back into the alternates real quick here. So for alternate one, we were looking at Nicholson Road from Elm Road to County Line. I know Nicholson Road has been one that we've been looking at trying to get work done on. That'll keep us away from that Highway 100 section, since that intersection with Shepherd will be under construction, so we may have some traffic kind of diverting over there, but still give us an opportunity to get started on that on Nicholson.
Tell you what, if you make the road smoother, people are gonna going faster. It's still 45 there, I think, legally.
I believe
I
it's
know.
35, but
People gripe about the speed. But there's some, it's rough. I would say in these alternates, I know we just did that treatment
Oakwood. Yep.
It would make sense maybe, that crossing's just east of Willow Creek,
Yeah, we do still, so we,
as an alternate. Willow Creek.
yeah,
I think the alternate,
nope. So the, those railroad crossings actually were, budgeted in a previous budget. The one at Oakwood and the one at Elm. We're just working through coordination with the railroad and then also coordination with DNR. The issues we're running into with those two crossings are, the one at Putes was kind of an easier fix because the railroad was actually a little bit lower than where the road was, so we were actually kind of cutting that hill down to smooth that out. These crossings at Oakwood and Elm, we actually need to kind of build up the road approaching it. So then that kind of extends out into impacts to the sides of the roadway. And there's wetlands on both sides, and there's also culvert pipes underneath the railroad there. So we need to look at how we can carry that water through under the roadway, and then also looking at minimizing those impacts to the wetland areas adjacent to there. So we are working to get those crossings included in this contract since that funding's already there, pending approval from DNR. Working with the railroad.
didn't realize
So-
we had already budgeted.
Yep, yeah, we've been working through that. Unfortunately, working with the railroad, sometimes they take a little bit of time to get back to you and answer your questions. So we're trying to get that through as quick as we can.
The one on Old Ryan, where is that in our
It is on our radar. We'd probably be looking at doing that as part of a future project. Hopefully that one's gonna be a little bit less coordination involved with the railroad. There's not a lot we can do as far as bringing that grade up at all because that's within the floodplain. So we'd probably just be looking at trying to kind of mill out the bumps through there and maybe resurface that area.
I imagine traffic count is pretty low, but it's a
Yeah.
rough one.
Yep. So it is on. Yep.
Tell me
I'm
Yeah,
helping
so-
you here.
what. That's why, 'cause I know I see it every day.
Yeah, so that
That's
one
crossing.
is on the radar, probably in the next couple of years here. So then I guess kind of finishing up the alternates here, we have alternate 3, 4, and 5. That's the Camelot Hills subdivision. Looking at, the only reason we split those up is that gives us a little bit more flexibility depending on what our where that base bid comes in. Whether we can go, that gives us kind of a $100,000 project or up to a $300,000 project that we can slot in, depending where we're at. So that kind of wraps up what we have. Some options would be to approve the base bids and alternates as they're presented here. We could also look at, swapping out one of those alternates for one of the projects within the base bid, if the board so chose. Obviously, you could direct us to go back and look at some additional streets.
Thoughts or comments?
Good program.
Yep.
Andrew, you've done a nice job.
Thank
This
you.
is not easy, so
I appreciate that.
I do like the bigger paper
Oh,
though. Old eyes, sorry.
What do we need here for motion?
Marshall will move to recommend the road improvement projects to be advertised for public bid for construction in 2026 to the Common Council for approval.
Kelly will second.
Roll call.
Gills, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Kelly, aye.
That's it. It's adjournment.
Gill moves to adjourn.
Marshall, second.
Alrighty, roll call.
Gill, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Kelly, aye.